and welcome to Just a Thought. I'm your host, Jeff Spates. Glad you're here, whether you're driving, folding laundry, or just taking a few minutes for yourself. Thank you for joining us. Today's episode is about something that's probably already crossed your mind, even if you haven't said it out loud. January sets the tone, not the outcome. We're a couple weeks into the new year, and there's that odd mix of hope and pressure in the air. You know the feeling. You flip the calendar, or let's be honest, you just unlock your phone, and it says January, and suddenly you're supposed to feel like a brand new person. The world loves to tell us January is a blank slate, a fresh start, a time to make all those changes we've been putting off. Lose weight, exercise more, eat better, call your mom, be present, fix your marriage, start that business. It's a long list, and it gets longer each and every year. So here's the big question. What happens when you start out strong? Maybe you hit the gym for the first 10 days, you pass on the cookies, you even buy a new journal, and then somewhere along the way, you lose a little momentum. Maybe you skip the workout. Maybe you order pizza on a stressful Thursday. Maybe you meant to meditate, but the day just got away from you. Does that mean you failed at your goal and it's only January? Is the year already off the rails? Not at all. And I want to spend some time today really digging into why that is. Because I think we put way too much pressure on January, like it's the golden ticket to a better life. And if we mess up once or twice, well, might as well throw in the towel and try again next year. That's not how real change works. Real change is messy. It's full of false starts and restarts, and I'll try again tomorrow. That doesn't mean you're a failure. That makes you human. Let me tell you a little story. Years ago, I decided I was going to be a runner. I bought the shoes, mapped out a route, and set my alarm for 6 a.m. My first run was great, no issues. My second run, not so great. My third run, didn't even happen. By the end of the week, I was back to my old habits. And if you asked me, I'd have said, well, I guess I'm not a runner. But a funny thing happened a few months later. The weather got better, and I tried again. Not because it was January, but because I felt like it. This time, I stuck with it a little longer. Eventually, running just became something I did, but not because I never missed a day, or because I was perfect from the start. That's the real secret. Progress isn't about perfection. It's about moving forward even when you trip up. It's about getting back on track, not ever falling off. January might set the tone, but it does not decide your outcome. The whole point is that you get to keep trying. You get to reset in March or July or whenever you need to. So if you're listening right now and you're already beating yourself up because you didn't stick to your plan, take a breath. You haven't failed. The year isn't ruined. In fact, you're doing exactly what everyone does when they try to make a change. The difference between the people who reach their goals and the people who don't, it's not willpower. It's not luck. It's just the willingness to keep showing up, no matter how many times you have to start over. We're going to talk about that today. We'll unpack why falling off track early is normal, why you shouldn't let a rough January write your whole story, and how to get back in the game, no matter where you are on your journey. But before we dive into today's conversation, as always, I would like to send out some hellos to some of our listeners, starting with my teammates at 97.3 The Heat. Thanks so much for getting these episodes out each and every week. Quick plug, if you would like to hear this conversation or any other past episodes, you can always go to the 97.3 The Heat YouTube channel. There you can get caught up. I want to send some love to some new listeners tuning in today from Houston, Texas, the Brinks family. Brian, Terry, Chandler, and Kinsey, thanks so much for tuning in today. And next, I want to say hello to a new group of listeners tuning in from Kentwood, Michigan at Lax Industries. Dan Foster, Erica Thomas, Gregory Farmer, and Haley Bennett, thanks so much for joining us. And last but not least, I want to say hello to some personal friends at the Just a Thought Counseling and Wellness Team located throughout the country in Atlanta, Grand Rapids, Louisville, Kentucky, and Jacksonville, Florida. Wanda B., Tony Fez, Kamala Thornton, and Brian Rivas and team, thanks so much for tuning in. So now let's dive into this. I want to start today's conversation with a simple, maybe uncomfortable truth. Change isn't linear. I know it sounds like something you might read on a motivational poster, but let's actually unpack what it means. Because this single idea can take so much pressure off your shoulders. You see, most of us have been conditioned to think progress is a straight line. We picture ourselves setting a goal. Maybe it's losing weight or getting our finances together or finally picking up that new habit. And then we imagine ourselves marching forward step by step, hitting every milestone right on schedule. The reality, it almost never happens that way. If you look at anyone who's made real lasting change in their life, it's almost always a story of slipping and stalling out and zigzagging and starting over. Sometimes more times than you can count. Let me give you an example. A friend of mine decided last year that she wanted to read more books. She set a goal, 1 book a month. January came around and she knocked out her first book in a week. February started strong, but then work got busy and she didn't finish another book until April. For a while, she was frustrated, thinking she had already failed. But by December, she actually read 8 books, more than she'd read any year before that. Did she hit her target every single month? Nope. Was her progress perfectly spaced out and Instagram worthy? Not even close. But she still moved forward in her own way, in her own time. That's the part we forget to celebrate. It's so tempting to get discouraged the first time you fall off. Maybe you started a new diet and then you went to a birthday party and had a slice of cake. Or maybe you promised yourself you wake up early and write in your journal, but you hit snooze 3 days in a row. Our brains are quick to say, well, you blew it. Might as well give up. But here's the thing. What matters more is how you get back on track, not that you never fall off. Think about it this way. If you were driving from New York to Los Angeles and you took a wrong turn in Chicago, would you just throw your keys out the window and walk away from the car? Of course you wouldn't. You find your way back to the highway and keep going. Maybe you lose a little time, but you still get where you wanted to go. It's the same with your goals. Detours are a part of the journey. I've seen this play out in my own life over and over again. There are projects I've started and abandoned only to pick them up again months later. There are habits I've tried to build and failed at and tried again with a different approach. Sometimes it takes 3 tries, sometimes it takes 30. But if you keep coming back, if you keep showing up, you make progress even if it's not visible day to day. So if you're listening right now and you feel like you're behind or you messed up too soon, let me remind you, you are not alone. you're in good company. Most of the success stories you hear are really stories of persistence and not perfection. The people who reach their goals are the ones who keep returning to them, even after setbacks. That's why I always say January sets the tone, not the outcome. You get to decide every single day that you're still in the game. And every time you get back up, you're strengthening that muscle, the one that says, I can keep going no matter what. So instead of aiming for a perfect streak, aim for resilience. Aim for the ability to restart, to forgive yourself, and to try again. And that brings me to the heart of today's episode. How do you actually get yourself back on track after you've slipped? What practical steps can you take, mentally and emotionally, to keep moving forward when your progress feels messy or slow? That's exactly what we're going to talk about next. One thing I want you to really let sink in is this. 1 month doesn't define 12. January is just 1/12 of the year. If you break that down, it's about 8%. That means if January didn't go the way you planned, if you missed the mark, fell off the wagon, or just plain struggled, you still got over 90% of the year left to work with. The math is actually in your favor. It's funny how we put so much pressure on these first few weeks. We treat January like a crystal ball, thinking whatever we do or don't do right now is going to determine the whole year. But honestly, have you ever looked back on a year and remembered it solely for what you did in January? I know I haven't. Usually it's the middle of the months. It's the middle months, the unexpected turns, the things that happen after you've adjusted and regrouped that shape the story. The truth is, life is full of second chances and third chances, and if we're being honest, 12th chances. Every month, every week, every day is another opportunity to try again. There's something powerful about knowing you don't have to get it all right on the first try. Let me give you an example. Think about athletes, the ones we admire for their discipline and drive. Even if they don't have perfect seasons, they still lose games. They get injured, and sometimes they don't even show up as their best selves. But what separates the good from the great isn't how flawless they are in January. It's how they handle the rest of the year, how they bounce back after a rough start. The same thing goes for us. Maybe your January was full of ambition and then life threw you a curveball. Maybe you were sick, or work got stressful, or you just didn't have the energy you thought you would. That doesn't mean you're out of the game. You have 11 more months to put your stamp on this year. That's a lot of time. And here's a little secret. Sometimes the most meaningful progress happens after things fall apart. It's when you're forced to regroup and reconsider, when you pick yourself up after a setback, that you really learn what you're made of. That's when you discover new strategies and new motivations, and sometimes even new goals. So, if you're sitting there thinking, I've already messed up this year, I want you to take a breath and do the math. If you miss a week or a month, you've still got somewhere around, I'd say 92% of the year to play with. If you've ever gotten a bad grade on an early assignment and still managed to pull off a good grade by the end, you know exactly what I mean. It's not about the stumble, it's about what you do next. And look, I know it's tempting to write off the year when things start rough. I've done it myself. There have been years when I let a tough January convince me that maybe I should just wait for next year to try again. But when I look back, the years I'm proudest of aren't the ones that started easy. They're the ones where I kept going even after the rocky start. So if January wasn't your month or isn't your month, let it be your warm-up. Let it be your practice. Let it be, preseason. There is so much time left to make a change, to start again, and to surprise yourself. We'll be right back.
97.3 FM is sponsored in part by the Sports Book for Young Athletes, College Recruiting Roadmap.
Are you a young athlete with dreams of playing your sport in college and getting a scholarship to do it? Are you a parent with a talented kid? College Recruiting Roadmap is your ultimate step-by-step guide to turning that dream into reality. Written for student athletes, parents, and coaches, this comprehensive guide takes the guesswork out of college recruitment and lays out a clear path to success. Whether you're just starting in elementary, middle school, high school, or already deep into your athletic journey, this book will help you take the right steps at the right time to stand out to college coaches. Available on Amazon.
It's your boy Potty Ali. This is The Game, the number one celebrity show in the world. Catch me every Saturday and Sunday on Grand Rapids on 97.3 FM, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. This is the number one celebrity show in the world.
Are you tired of the same old routine? Feeling like life's just passing you by? Then it's time for Just a Thought. Every Sunday from 10 to 11 a.m. right here on 97.3 The Heat. We'll give you the spark you need to shake things up. Fresh ideas, real talk, and a shot of new energy to help you see life differently. Stop settling for the status quo. Tune in and let's rethink what's possible together. That's Just a Thought, Sundays at 10 on 97.3 The Heat. Don't miss it.
Tune in to WJWC 97.3 FM, The Heat, home of hip-hop and R&B, Latin crossover, Latin rap, and Latin R&B.
And we're back. Welcome to Just a Thought. I'm your host, Jeff Spates. Let's talk about what really happens when you start over. Because after you had a rocky January or maybe a rough February, you're faced with a choice. Do I give up or do I try again? And here's where the magic happens. Every time you start over, every single time you decide, I'm going to give this one more shot, you're just not moving closer to your goal. You're building resilience. And that skill is worth more than any number on a scale or any streak on your calendar. Resilience is one of those words people throw around, but let's break it down for a second. Resilience is your ability to bounce back. It's what keeps you in the game when things get messy. The funny thing about resilience is you can't build it by being perfect. You build it by falling down and getting back up again and again. Think about it. When have you learned the most about yourself? I'm willing to bet it wasn't during the easy times. It's the hard times, the times when you had to swallow your pride or dust yourself off and try again. That really shapes you. That's the stuff that sticks with you. It's where your confidence actually comes from, not just in your goals, but in your life. Let me share a quick story. I knew a guy who decided he was going to quit smoking. He tried and failed more times than he could count. He made it a week, maybe two, and then he slipped. But every time he started over, he learned something new. What triggered his cravings? Which friends supported him? What routines helped him to cope with it? And eventually, after what felt like 100 tries, it stuck. He hasn't smoked in years now. But if you ask him what made the difference, he'll tell you, I just kept starting over. I got really good at picking myself back up. That's resilience in action. And the wild part is it spills over into everything else. Once you know you can come back from a setback, you start to approach other challenges with far less fear. You take more risk. You're less rattled when plans go sideways. You trust yourself to figure it out because you've done it before. Here's the beautiful part. Resilience isn't just about this year's goals. It's not just about losing the weight or saving money or making the calls. It's about becoming the kind of person who can handle whatever life throws your way. That's the real prize in itself, right there. And every time you start over, you're reinforcing that message to yourself. You're telling yourself, I'm not someone who gives up. I'm someone who keeps going. So the next time you find yourself back at square one, maybe for the second time, maybe for the 10th, don't see it as a failure. See it as training. Every restart is a rep in the gym for your inner strength. It's a chance to learn something new, to refine your approach, to build a little more grit. And here's something else, people. People notice. Your kids see you keep trying, and that teaches them more than any lecture ever could. Your friends and family watch you get up again, and it gives them permission to do the same. Resilience is contagious. So as you look at the months ahead, don't be afraid to start over as many times as you need. Wipe that slate clean. Try again. Each attempt isn't erasing your progress. It's building something deeper, something nobody can take away from you. So let's keep going, because I think it's important to confront one of the biggest myths out there, that the people who reach their goals are just somehow different from the rest of us. We imagine they're superhuman, born with more discipline, more willpower, maybe some secret sauce we never got. But let's talk about the real story. Most people falter early. You're not alone if things started to unravel already. Seriously, you don't have to take my word for it. The research backs this up. There are studies out there showing that by the second or third week of January, most resolutions are already on shaky ground. Some estimates say almost 80% of people have abandoned their New Year's goals by February. That's not a sign that everyone is hopeless. It's just a sign that change is hard. And more importantly, it's a sign that you're not the odd one out if you're struggling right now. Think about it. Every gym in America is packed on January 2nd. People are buying up all the kale and signing up for online courses, dusting off their running shoes, and then as the days go by, life creeps back in. Maybe your work schedule picks up. Maybe you get sick, or your kids get sick, or you just lose that initial burst of motivation. Suddenly, the gym is a little emptier. That online course, still waiting for you to log in. The kale, well, it's starting to look a little weird and wilted in the fridge. But here's the real difference. What separates the people who eventually succeed from the ones who don't isn't some magical quality. It's not perfection. It's not even consistency, at least not in the way we usually think about it. It's the ability to keep showing up even after you've already messed up. I got a friend who runs marathons, plural. People always ask her, how do you stay so motivated? And she laughs and says, you know how many workouts I've skipped? How many times I wanted to quit? The key, she says, isn't that she never misses a run. It's that she always comes back even after a week off, even after a minor injury, even after a bad race. Over time, those comebacks build up into something that looks a lot like discipline from the outside. And this isn't just about fitness. It applies to everything. Relationships, careers, personal development. The people who seem to have it all together, most of the time, they're just the ones who refuse to let a setback turn into a full stop. They don't let a bad week define the whole year. They just keep going. So if you're sitting there listening and feeling like you blew it already, I want you to know you're in a big, crowded club. Most of us are in there with you. It's not evidence that you can't do it. It's evidence that you're trying to do something real, something that matters, something that's actually a challenge. And that's a good thing. It means you're stretching yourself, which is the whole point. The trick is to keep coming back, even if you don't feel ready, even if you're embarrassed, even if you think you should be further along by now. Just show up. Do the next small things. Start again. The people who keep showing up are the ones who, by the end of the year, look back and realize they're actually changed. Not because they were perfect, but because they refused to quit. And that brings me to the next piece of this conversation. Sometimes it's not about sticking to the same goals no matter what. Sometimes the smartest thing you can do is adjust your direction and tweak your goals and give yourself permission to grow in ways you didn't expect. Let's talk about how goals evolve and why that's not a sign of failure, but a sign of wisdom. Because there's something nobody tells you when you're setting those big New Year's resolutions. Sometimes halfway through the process, you realize the goal you picked in January isn't actually the right one for you. And that isn't failure, that's growth. You see, it's easy to feel like you're supposed to stick to the plan no matter what, even if it stops feeling right. Maybe you set a goal to run a half marathon, but a couple months in, you realize you don't actually enjoy running. You just thought you should enjoy it because everyone else seemed to. Or maybe you promised yourself that this was the year you master meal prepping. But all the chopping and planning is stressing you out and you're starting to dread dinner time. In these moments, it's tempting to think you failed or that you just don't have what it takes to follow through. But truthfully, the willingness to adjust your goals is a sign of self-awareness, not weakness. It means you're paying attention. You're listening to your life, not just the noise around you. And honestly, that kind of flexibility is what separates the people who burn out from the people who actually build habits that last. Let me tell you about a friend of mine who set out last year to write a novel. She had it all mapped out, chapters, word counts, daily writing sessions. But as she got into it, she realized she wasn't enjoying the process. Her real love was poetry, but she convinced herself that serious writers wrote novels. After a lot of internal debate, she pivoted. She let go of the novel and started writing poems again every day, just a little bit. By the end of the year, she had a collection she was proud of, and more importantly, she wanted to keep going. The goal evolved, and so did she. But why do we struggle so much to let our goals change? I think it's because we confuse persistence and stubbornness. We think quitting a goal means we're flaky or undisciplined. But there's a huge difference between quitting because something is hard and quitting because it isn't right. The trick is learning to tell the difference. Sometimes it takes a little time. Sometimes you have to try and stumble and try again before you figure out what really fits. Another thing, life changes. Maybe your job shifts, or you move, or you become a parent, or you go through something you didn't expect. The goals you set in one chapter of your life might not fix in the next. That doesn't mean you're copping out. It means you're evolving, and your goals should evolve with you. If you're listening and you feel that tug, like maybe the thing you set out to do isn't quite right anymore, give yourself permission to pivot and ask yourself, does this still excite me? Is it still meaningful? Is it serving the life I'm actually living, not just the one I imagined back in January? And if it's not, that's okay. You're not locked in. You can adjust. You can choose again. Changing your mind isn't a sign of failure. It's a sign that you're in tune with yourself, that you're growing, and that you care enough to make your goals fit the person you're trying to become. So as you keep moving through this year, remember, your resolutions aren't set in stone. Let them shift, let them evolve, and trust yourself to know when it's time for something new. When we come back, I want to talk about the small wins and how progress isn't always making a big sweeping change. We'll be right back.
97.3 FM is sponsored by Gun Lake Casino.
There's always something new at GLC. Now with an all-new, all-spectacular hotel. Gun Lake has expanded with more bars and restaurants, a new high-limit tables room, a spa, and an endlessly incredible hotel. Deliciousness, relaxation, and exhilaration now on a whole new level. The all-new hotel, now open at Gun Lake Casino Resort. Book your room today at gunlakecasino.com.
Thank you, Gun Lake Casino.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Jeff Spates from Just a Thought. Here's your thought of the day. The door to happiness opens from the inside. Remember that. Want more inspiration and real talk? Catch us every Sunday from 10 to 11 a.m. right here on 97.3 The Heat.
This program comes to you by the Community Voice La Voz magazine, administrated by Dr. Jose Flores, editor-in-chief. You can find him at 1052 Granville Avenue, Southwest New Michigan. You can reach him at 616-581-6271. Gracias, Jose.
Student athletes, parents, and coaches, tune in to Jerseys for Life Radio every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. I'll be talking about how sports help shape your life. You can listen in online at www.theheat973.com. I'll see you there.
And we're back. Welcome to Just a Thought. I'm your host, Jeff Spates. So let's talk about small wins. Those little victories that on their own don't always feel like much, but over time start to add up in ways you might not even notice at first. Because when we set out to change something, whether it's our health, our relationships, our careers, we tend to picture the big shiny finish line. The marathon medal, the promotion, the dramatic before and after photo. But the truth is, real progress almost always hides in the tiny, everyday choices you make when nobody's watching. Maybe you set out to run a marathon this year. Yeah, I'm on this running thing because I need to do it. Maybe you didn't even make it to the starting line, but you know what? You started walking more. You parked at the far end of the parking lot. You took the stairs instead of the elevator. You took your dog for a longer walk around the block, even on days when you were tired. It doesn't make for a flashy Instagram post, but it does count. Those little wins matter, maybe more than you think. We tend to overlook these small steps because they're not dramatic. They don't make headlines. But progress is rarely loud. It's quiet, it's subtle. It's a choice to drink water instead of soda, or to go to bed 30 minutes earlier, or to have one kind conversation with yourself when you would have rather been critical. Over time, those choices accumulate. They build momentum, and eventually you look up and realize you're covered more ground than you thought you did. I've seen this play out again and again. I know someone who wanted to eat healthier but was overwhelmed by the idea of overhauling their entire diet. So they started with breakfast, just breakfast. They swapped out sugary cereal for oatmeal. That was it. After a few weeks, breakfast felt easy, so they started packing a healthier lunch. And little by little, their habits changed. If you'd asked them 6 months in, are you a health nut now? They probably would have laughed. But if you looked at their routine over the course of a year, you'd see a real transformation, one small win at a time. This is true for more than just your health. Maybe your goal was to write a book, but all you managed was a few journal entries each week. That's a win. Maybe you wanted deeper relationships, So you started texting your friends more often, or you made it a point to have dinner together once a month. That's a win too. The scale is different, but the progress is real. And here's the thing. We get so focused on the end result that we forget to give ourselves credit for the effort. We set our sights so high that anything short of perfection feels like failure. But the reality is, every step forward counts. Every time you make a choice that moves you even a little closer to your goal, you're building something. You're proving to yourself that you can change, even if it's slow. So if you're feeling discouraged because your progress doesn't look the way you hoped, if you're not smashing your goals in some bold, dramatic fashion, take a step back and look for the little wins. They're there, and they matter. They're the proof that you're still moving, even if it's not as fast or as flashy as you thought it should be. And that's why, as we move forward, I want to talk about one of the biggest traps people fall into: perfectionism. The idea that if you can't do it all, you might as well not do anything at all. Perfectionism is sneaky, and it can rob you of the joy and progress you're already making. So let's dig into why perfectionism is the real enemy and how you can let it go so you can keep stacking those small wins. If you've ever caught yourself thinking, if I can do it perfectly, why even bother? You're not alone. Perfectionism is the silent saboteur of progress. It sneaks in quietly, usually disguised as high standards or ambition. But before you know it, it's paralyzing you, convincing you that if your efforts don't look flawless from day one, they're not worth making it at all. This is especially true in January. We roll into the new year with that fresh start mentality, thinking we have to get everything exactly right from the jump. We map out ambitious plans. Imagine ourselves sticking to every workout, every journal entry, every perfectly portioned meal. We tell ourselves this year will be different because this year we're going to be perfect. But here's the reality. Believing you have to get it all right in January or in any month sets you up for disappointment. Perfection is fantasy. It's a moving target. No matter how well you do, it always asks for more. It's that voice that says, okay, you did the thing, but you could have done it better. It's exhausting, and it takes the wind out of your sails before you've even really started. And the worst part, it can keep you from appreciating all the real meaningful progress you're actually making. I've seen this play out so many times, both in my own life and in the lives of people I care about. Maybe you miss one workout and suddenly you feel like you ruined your whole streak. Maybe you break your diet once, and that little voice pipes in and says, well, you blew it, so you might as well give up. Before you know it, you're back to the old habits, not because you weren't capable of change, but because perfectionism convinced you there was no point in trying if you couldn't do it 100%. But here's the thing. Real progress almost never looks perfect. It is so messy. It's a series of starts and stops, of wins and setbacks, of days when you're on fire and days when you just phone it in. That's not a sign that you're failing. It's a sign that you're human. The people who actually reach their goals aren't the ones who never mess up. They're the ones who keep going after they mess up. Letting go of perfectionism doesn't mean you stop caring or that you lower your standards to nothing. It means you get realistic about what change actually looks like. It means you give yourself permission to be a work in progress, to learn as you go. to celebrate the small wins, even when the big picture is still coming together. If you find yourself stuck in that all or nothing mindset, try this. Focus on the next right step, not the next perfect step. What's one small thing you can do today that moves you in the direction you want to go? Maybe it's a 10-minute walk instead of an hour at the gym. Maybe it's just writing a single paragraph instead of a whole chapter. Progress is progress, no matter how small. So as you think about your goals this month, this year, or even just today, let go of that fantasy of perfection. It's not serving you. In fact, it's probably holding you back. Give yourself grace. Give yourself patience and keep showing up. That's where real growth happens. And that brings me to another truth that often gets overlooked. You don't have to wait for some magical moment to get back on track. Momentum can start at any time, next week, next month, or even in the middle of a random Tuesday. We put so much weight on January 1st as if there's some magic in the date. Like if you didn't get everything lined up and perfect on day one, you missed your shot for the year. But that's just not true. There's nothing special about January 1st. Your next good streak can start whenever you decide. March, October, a random Thursday afternoon. The calendar isn't in charge of your momentum. You are. Here's what I noticed. Real change, the kind that sticks, rarely begins with fireworks and a trumpet blast. It doesn't care if it's the first of the month or the middle of the week. It usually starts quietly on an ordinary day when you decide, you know what, I'm ready to try again. Maybe something clicks while you're doing the dishes, or you wake up on a Saturday with a fresh sense of possibility. That's momentum, and it doesn't need a holiday or a new month to get going. I've seen people make the biggest changes in their lives at the most unexpected times. I know someone who quit smoking for good on a random Wednesday in June, not because of a New Year's resolution, but because they finally felt ready. I know someone else who started running in late September after months of telling themselves they'd wait for the right time. There was no fanfare, just a quiet decision to take the first step, and then the next, and then the next. We all get caught up in the idea that beginnings have to be big and official. But the truth is, beginnings happen every day. Every morning you wake up is a new chance to start. Every time you decide to do something different, to make a better choice, you're building momentum. And here's the best part. Momentum doesn't care how many times you started and stopped before. It's always there for the taking. If January didn't go as planned, so what? If you lost your way in February, that's okay too. Maybe March is your month. Or maybe you coast through spring and something shifts for you in the summer. The point is, you're not out of time. The only deadline that really matters is the one you set for yourself, the moment you decide to get back in the game. I think momentum, like pushing a car that's stalled. At first it's heavy and stubborn and unmoving. You put your shoulder into it and it barely budges, but if you keep at it, you get it rolling little by little, and suddenly it's a lot easier to keep it moving. That's how habits work. That's how progress works. You might have to push hard to get things started, but once you build up a little speed, you surprise yourself with how far you can go. Let this be your permission slip. You don't have to wait for the right moment to start again. You don't have to wait for Monday or the first of the month or next New Year's Day. You can pick up momentum anytime you choose. The important thing is to start, however smart that might be. We'll be right back.
Funding for 97.3 FM is provided in part by La Familia Stop and Shop located at 1066 Cesar E. Chavez Avenue Southwest, providing groceries, convenience, and libations to local community.
97.3 FM is sponsored by Gun Lake Casino.
The wait is over. Everything you want. And it's all right here. A resort, spa, and spectacular tropical paradise. This is where you want to be.
This is where you want to be.
The all-new Gun Lake Casino Resort and Wawaye Oasis are now open. Must be 21 or older. Gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Thank you, Gun Lake Casino.
At the start of 2025, I challenged you. Let's make this our best year yet. Well, guess what? We're over halfway through, but that challenge still stands. There's still time to achieve greatness, and you don't have to do it alone. If you're ready to level up, tune in to Just a Thought every Sunday from 10 to 11 a.m. right here on 97.3 The Heat. We'll give you the tools, ideas, and motivation to turn your year around. Don't just coast through 2025. Make it count. See you Sunday right here on 97.3 The Heat.
Tune in to WJWC 97.3 FM, The Heat, home of hip-hop and R&B, Latin crossover, Latin rap, and Latin R&B.
And we're back. Welcome to Just a Thought. I'm your host, Jeff Spates. So let's get into something that's often overlooked in all the talk about goals and progress. Self-compassion. If you've ever tried to push yourself through a setback by being your own harshest critic, you're not alone. A lot of us think that if we just get tough enough with ourselves, we'll finally shape up. But truthfully, being hard on yourself for slipping up is actually more likely to make you quit. It's self-forgiveness, real, honest self-compassion that keeps you in the game. Think about it this way. What do you do when a friend tells you they've messed up or fallen short? You probably don't say, well, you blew it, might as well give up. More likely, you will encourage them. You will remind them of how far they've come. You help them find a way forward. But when it comes to ourselves, we tend to offer the opposite. The criticism, guilt, shame. It's like we think a little self-flagellation is the price of admission for another shot at our goals. The research is pretty clear on this. People who practice self-compassion are far more likely to recover from setbacks and keep working towards their goals. Why? Because beating yourself up saps your energy and motivation. It turns a single misstep into a spiral. You miss a workout, so you tell yourself you're lazy. You eat that extra piece of cake, so you write off the whole week. That harsh inner voice convinces you that you're not cut out for change, so why bother trying? But when you treat yourself with kindness, when you say, okay, I slipped, but everyone does, I can start again, you can create the space to actually learn from your mistakes. You keep your head in the game. You remind yourself that setbacks aren't the end of the story, just a part of it. Let me tell you about someone I know who really embodies this. She sets out to build a daily meditation habit. The first week she was on fire. By week 2, she missed a day, then 2. The old her would have thrown in the towel, convinced she'd fail. But this time, she tried something different. She spoke to herself the way she'd speak to a friend. Hey, you missed a couple days, but that's okay. You can pick it back up. And she did. Not only did her meditation practice stick, but she actually started looking forward to her sessions because the pressure was off. She could mess up and it wouldn't be the end of the world. This is what self-compassion looks like in practice. It's not about letting yourself off the hook or making excuses. It's about treating yourself fairly, recognizing that the road to change is bumpy and that you're allowed to be a work in progress. If you're listening right now and you're stuck in the cycle of self-criticism, try this. The next time you slip, pause for a minute. Notice that urge to yell at yourself, and instead of yelling at yourself and dogging yourself out, offer yourself a little kindness. Remind yourself that one mistake doesn't erase your progress, and that the willingness to keep trying is what matters the most. You'll be amazed at how much easier it is to get back on track when you're not fighting your own inner critic. Real transformation isn't built on punishment. It's built on patience, forgiveness, and the courage to start over as many times as it takes. So give yourself that chance. Be gentle. Be persistent. And trust that every restart is another step forward. And that leads perfectly into our next topic, the long game. Because sustainable change isn't about one good month. It's about building habits that last for years, even if the progress is slow. Let's talk about the power of habits and why missing a few days is just a blip in a much bigger picture. It's funny the weight we put on January. 1 month out of 12, and suddenly it's supposed to define the whole year. We all feel it. That pressure, the sense that if you don't have your act together by the end of week 1, you've already blown it. Resolutions, vision boards, gyms packed with the sound of treadmills and nervous ambition. Maybe you've already missed a day. Maybe you're wondering if this year is going to be just like last year. Just pause for a second. Here's the truth that nobody tells you. January sets the tone, not the outcome. If you don't remember anything about this conversation, please hold on to that. January sets the tone, not the outcome. Think about it. January is a starting gun, not the finish line. The first brush stroke, not the whole painting. It's the opening scene, not the plot twist that changes everything. All it does is invite you to begin. It says, hey, you get another shot. That's it. The rest, that's wide open and it's yours to write. So, what if you let go of the pressure to be perfect right now? What if instead you focus on showing up? Messy, uncertain, but ready to move. What if you accepted that change is a process, not a single moment of willpower? Most people wait for the feeling. They wait for the right mindset, the magic burst of motivation that finally makes it easy to begin. Here's the secret. Action shapes attitude. You don't think your way into a new life. You act your way there. Small steps, repeated, change your mind. They build belief. Now, don't get me wrong. I get why we crave a clean slate. It feels good to imagine you can leave the old stuff behind, that some invisible line in the calendar makes you new. But real change isn't about the date. It's about what you do when the newness wears off. It's about what you do the first time you stumble, or forget, or fall back into that old pattern. That's when it counts. That's when you decide who you're going to be. So let January inspire you. Let it give you that little jolt of hope. But don't let it box you in. You are not the sum of your first month's mistakes. You are not the story of a single week. You are the person who gets up, who tries, who learns, and who keeps moving even when the world isn't watching anymore. You want to change your life? Start something, anything. Make it so small you can't fail. Drink 1 glass of water every morning. Walk around the block after dinner. Write 1 sentence before you go to bed. Let the act itself be the goal, not the distant idea of who you're supposed to become. The more you move, the more you believe you can. Mindset is built, not found. And when February rolls around and March and some of that New Year buzz is gone, keep going. Remind yourself the outcome is written in the dozens of little choices you make after the tone is set. January is just the beginning. The rest of the year, the real story is waiting for you to show up. Don't let January hold all the power. Take it back, set the tone, and then keep painting. The masterpiece is in the making, and it's never too late to start again. So, as we get to the end of today's conversation, I want to leave you with something simple but powerful. Any effort, no matter how small, is a form of success. We get caught up in chasing big victories and the dramatic changes and the overnight transformations, the kind of stories that make headlines go viral. But in real life, the small wins are the things that move us forward. The little choices, the moments of discipline no one else sees, those are what actually carry us to the finish line. We all have grand ideas about the changes we want to make in our lives. And maybe you want to get healthier or start a new habit or finally make progress on a dream that's been sitting in the back of your mind for a long time. And sometimes those big goals can feel almost impossible. The mountain looks huge from the bottom. It's easy to get discouraged before you even take your first step. That's where baby steps come in. It's not about lowering your standards. It's about making your journey possible. When you break things down into smaller, manageable pieces, you give yourself a real shot at progress. You build momentum. You gain confidence, and pretty soon those little steps start to add up. I'm reminded of something Charles Barkley once shared about his early days in the NBA. As a rookie, he needed to lose weight to get playing time. Charles went to Moses Malone, a veteran and a legend, and asked him why he wasn't getting on the court. And Malone didn't sugarcoat it. He told Barkley straight up, "You're fat and you're lazy." But then he did something even more valuable. He gave Barkley a plan. Moses told him to lose 50 pounds, but not all at once. 10 pounds at a time. That's it. Every time Barkley dropped 10 pounds, his game improved. He saw results in pieces, not all at once. That approach changed everything for him. And that works for us too. So maybe you're looking at a goal right now that feels too big or too far away. Instead of trying to leap the whole distance, just focus on your next 10 pounds. Whatever that means for you. One chapter, one workout, one phone call, one new habit practiced for a week. Let yourself celebrate those little victories. They're proof you're moving forward, even if the world can't see it yet. But before we wrap up, I want to thank you for joining me this week. If you want to hear this conversation again, you can always head over to the 97.3 The Heat YouTube channel. And if you ever need a little daily lift, you can find me at live365.com. Just search for Just a Thought Network. We mix music and motivation because I believe we all need a little bit of both to get through the day. Thank you for joining us. We'll catch you next week. Peace.